AI is not just a technology, it has to be a system. And I always focus on 4 areas, ensuring that you define that it is valuable, it is feasible, it is viable, and it is usable.
हजुरले भन्दा मेरो दिमागमा एउटा कस्तो बिजनेस आइडिया भनौँ है त हाम्रो अडियन्सलाई सो एउटा प्लेटफर्म जहाँ
Something happened in my career when I was IBM. I don't know what it was, but I have seen a lot of women just willingly leave the limelight, not because they are not capable, but because they are just overwhelmed with a lot of other responsibilities and they don't have the right support system. As we talk about women empowerment, it is incomplete without having men in the picture. And so if we are building table and chairs for men to sit, let's be considerate about how can women fit in those chairs, because those chairs may not have been built for women. What are we doing about it? What are we changing in the thought process, in the things that we design, in the system that we design to make sure that women would want to willingly step in and come to the picture?
That is one of the best thing that you could do to actually inspire more female leaders. Hi Rosha ji, स्वागत छ हाम्रो पडकास्टमा.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm pretty excited आजको कन्भर्सेसनको लागि. अनि आई होप केही टेन्जिबल कुराहरू हामीले हाम्रो अडियन्सलाई चाहिँ दिन सक्छौँ होला. अनि हामीले हाम्रो एउटा भनाइ चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि गेट इन्सपायर्ड बिकम अ डुअर. सो होपफुली आजको कन्भर्सेसन केही टेन्जिबल त्यस्तो डुएबल कुरा उहाँहरूले निकालेर गर्न पाउनु भएन. आई थिङ्क द्याट वुड बी सक्सेस अफ दिस कन्भर्सेसन.
Of course.
होइन मलाई चाहिँ आई थिङ्क हजुरको करियर ट्रेजेक्टरी लास्ट टाइम हामी कुरा गर्दाखेरि मलाई कस्तो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लागेको थियो होइन. अनि त्यही बेसिसमा चाहिँ मेरो कति धेरै क्वेसनहरू छ. सो सेल वी स्टार्ट फ्रम हजुरको करियर.
Sure. हुन्छ. So, मेरो career journey चाहिँ it started right after my PhD. Ani that was a prime time where big data was a boom.
This was back in?
This was back in 2014. I graduated in 2014 from University of Florida.
PhD चाहिँ केमा गर्नुभयो त्यो?
मेरो PhD चाहिँ इलेक्ट्रिकल एन्ड कम्प्युटर इन्जिनियरिङ चाहिँ मेन एरिया भयो. त्यसमा चाहिँ माइन्युट एरियाज अब एकदमै focused area for PhD was signal processing, under which I designed algorithms for machine learning algorithms, nonlinear space ma machine learning algorithms are designed gare. Wrote papers for neural network based papers or likhe, which is one of the primary basis for today's AI boom. So two area, but I was fortunate to be guided by a professor who has written books in neural nets. And he worked with amazing people in the lab. We have written papers for pattern recognitions and our major journals. So that's where my base in AI and my understanding of what's beneath the AI layer, the math behind the AI. That's where I learned all those. And if I go back and look at my PhD dissertation, it's all math. Because I was always inclined towards math. But if you talk to my school friends...
Non-numerical math, huh?
Later, the non-numerical sabai prove garnu parne bhayo, हैन. But that was naturally my inclination. So I start gare pani I eventually landed there. So with that background, it was really exciting to be graduating at that time. Obviously, graduation hundahari ta you're always nervous because you don't know where to go, ke गर्ने भन्ने. But it was a really good time, and people used to tell me you should be really excited about this time because this is where you have the right skill set. And अहिले अब data science एकदम boom भइरहेछ, and then big data boom भइरहेछ, and there's so much opportunity भन्ने सबैले भनिराख्नै थियो. So that's where I started, and I landed a job as a data scientist at weather.com, अहिले हाम्रो weather app छ नि. त्यसमा चाहिँ अब मेरो primary job was to tune a neural network model to predict electric power at a certain location based on weather data. अहिले पनि हामी यहाँ पनि देखिरहेको हुन्छ नि, हावा हुरी आयो भने बत्ती जान्छ, अथवा कुनै दिन धेरै गर्मी भयो भने एसी धेरै चल्छ, पावर धेरै जान्छ, हैन. So those kind of predictions we were making through these models, and that was my first job where I started.
त्यसमा before you continue, मलाई एउटा दुईटा के बिजनेस युज केसेसहरु जान्न मन लाग्यो. त्यो प्रेडिक्सन लाई युज गरेर कसरी बिजनेस डिसिजन्सहरु युज हुन्छ?
Sure. So that was an energy trading platform that I was working for. So the product's name was Energy Trading Platform. So in that platform, there are people who are energy traders. So they bid for a certain value of energy power at a certain location. And if they have the bid, the right bid, then they make more money. So there are major energy trading platforms across that covers areas across the U.S. But what they need is they need a really reliable prediction on how much power is going to be consumed in a certain location. And the major driver for how much power would be consumed in a certain location is weather, right? If it's a rainy day, if it's a super hot day, if it's a super sunny, if it's a super snowy day, if it's a super windy day, all those are the drivers for how much energy, how much electric power will be consumed in a certain location. So based on that, if we give them the right prediction on how much power would be consumed in a certain location, they would use that. They would make their bids accordingly, and then they would be able to make better guess and make better bid and earn money based on that. So that's the energy trading platform, and that's the business use case basically. It can expand beyond a lot of things, and there is a lot of I think lines you can draw between that and what's going on right now in Nepal's context from the electricity as well.
नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा के इक्जाम्पल दिनु पर्यो भने
अब नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टको लागि चाहिँ I think we still are going through struggles with electric power. तर अब अहिले मैले सुनेको चाहिँ हाम्रो लोड सेडिङहरू हुने कारण चाहिँ हावाहुरी भएर मेजर हो. It's not mainly the lack of electricity is not the issue anymore. It's mainly in the city areas, right? In villages, we still don't have electricity in many places, but in the areas where we are consuming electricity massively, we still we are okay with the amount of electricity power that we have. It is more of the the weather that is driving the load shedding or lack of power. So if we are at that stage, then we probably want to start thinking about how do we optimize the electric power at different places based on infrastructures like power grids. I don't know where we are in that journey, but it's probably a good time to think about that and also start thinking about if there is an opportunity for creating something like that.
US बाहिर पनि जापानको लागि पनि कहाँ कुन देशको लागि काम गर्नुभयो भन्नु भएन weather.com को forecasting
then after that so that was my first place where I started and learned how you deploy machine learning models for production use case, and did the end-to-end. And after that, I got an opportunity to lead a major product for Watson IBM. It's called Watson Outage Prediction. And as you know, Watson is like the branded as the AI thing for IBM. So that was where the product it stepped a little bit away from energy trading, but the product was basically, it would predict when would the outage arise at a certain location for a utility company. US-मा चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ, and even in other bigger nations also, what it is that there are different areas, different locations छुट्टाइदिएको हुन्छ, ISOs भन्छ. In those locations, the utility companies are supposed to provide electric power. And at a certain point, if there is power cut down and they do not repair that within 24 hours, they have to bear major penalties in millions of dollars. So they want to minimize that penalty by being forefront and being able to predict in advance where the electricity is going to go off, so that they can send their crew maybe 24 hours in advance or 2 hours in advance or whatever makes sense. Sometimes they have to recruit crews. Maybe it would take half a day for them to get there, right? Especially bad weather situation might take more than 24 hours to get there. So they would be able to recruit their crew members ahead of time, fix it, so that the consumers won't be away, off of electricity for too long. So that's the business use case we were solving for, is that helping save millions of dollars for the utility providers by predicting where the electricity is going to go off at a certain time and point. And we did that for US, we did that for Canada, we did that for Japan, Italy, and I was fortunate to be able to lead those efforts.
You said this was before ChatGPT boom, right?
This was back in 2017, 18. Yeah, 2018 was a really fun year for me. I had so my first daughter, she was just 1 year old, and she's a foodie. She loves traveling, and she's such a good sleeper. So me and my husband, we traveled like 3 different countries in the same year, took her everywhere, and it was a
तर
fun.
गाह्रो हुन्छ नि 1 वर्षको बच्चासँग बाहिर ट्राभल गर्न त
गाह्रो हुन्छ तर it was fun. It was actually fun. Within 2 years we traveled with her in 3 different countries actually. गाह्रो हुन्छ तर कस्तो पनि हुन्छ भने विदेशमा चाहिँ they have made it so easy for people to travel with
ए ओके
because you can take strollers everywhere. Ani everybody loves having kids around. Ani at least that's what I think as a mom. But no, it's just friendly eyes. They have friendly eyes towards kids. Japan mother, like she was a very chubby baby, and then her eyes were really closed down because of her chubby cheeks. And then Japan mother, we would never see kids around. Okay, for some reason there weren't any kids that we could see, and then she'd be the only baby in the train,
All
and
the
everybody
attention.
will be like, yeah. But then like I said, ekdam easy banako huncha. You can take strollers everywhere. Everywhere you go, you have seating for kids that you can find. Sometimes there are crayons that you can give to kids to engage them. I know. मैले यहाँ नेपालमा पनि actually काठमाडौँ पनि देखेँ कुनै ठाउँमा चाहिँ they have made it comfortable for kids.
हामीले कतिवटा गियर स्विच गऱ्यौँ
Yeah.
इन्जिनियरबाट
Yeah, but I have to say, I also traveled. I haven't yet been able to travel with my younger one because she's going to watch this podcast and
Okay.
she's going to tell me, like, why didn't you talk about me? So, but I was, when we were traveling for Italy's gig, we took our elder one, and my younger one was in my tummy. So, so we were able to do all that all together while also,
So
taking the career
यो चाहिँ
alongside.
आइबिएम वाट्सनमा काम गर्दाखेरिको बेलाको कुरा
Hazır.
ओके
Yeah.
अनि कहिले छोड्नुभयो हजुरले त्यहाँ
I left there after I became the lead data scientist. That was 2019, I think, or 2020.
कति वर्षको काम पछि
So overall, I worked for IBM Watson 2016 to 2020, so 4 years, and then 2 years was weather.com, in which phase there was like IBM acquisition was happening. So if you put it all together, it was like 6-7 years.
सो 6-7 वर्षको कमिटमेन्ट त लामो कमिटमेन्ट हो नि होइन अनि मोस्ट प्राइली एकदम हायर लिडरसिप पोजिसनमा पुगिसक्नु भएको थियो होला त्यति बेला
Not really. I started as like a data scientist, a beginner data scientist, fresh off of PhD. Then I went all the way up to lead data scientist, so then staff, and then the lead. But IBM is also a very big company. मैले learn गरेको lesson चाहिँ it's easier to step into ladders when it's a smaller company, relatively smaller size. When you have a big company, then you have to, follow that process, and it takes a longer process. And besides, I wasn't that, I was more inclined towards solving problems. I wasn't inclined towards getting promoted so much.
त्यति बेला
त्यति बेला.
ओके त्यसपछि
And then later, something happened in my career when I was IBM. It was mostly related to I don't know if it was related to something about me being a woman in, like, one of the few women in the room, or I don't know what it was, but there were moments where I would feel like I could make more changes. I could make things better for my women colleagues or team members. And I need to go into leadership role to be able to do that.
ओके नाइस
And I was very fortunate to have a women manager as well. So my manager was a really nice. She was a woman, and she was very supportive, very encouraging, a really good mentor. And maybe watching her also, I learned a lot of things, and I realized that I want to step into leadership role because I really want to see more women on the table.
And what's better way to start with yourself होइन त सो त्यसपछि करियर प्रोग्रेसन कता पुग्यो
Then I started looking where I can go to start becoming into the managerial role, because I talked to my manager, and as I said, she was very supportive. And IBM is like a nation, right? You can go to so many different areas, and if you have support of your manager, you can go to so many different branches. So she tried to help me around and try to find me the right places. But the thing is, it's a really big company, and I'm always a proud IBMer. once an IBMer, always an IBMer भन्ने छ क्या एउटा. So I feel that, but also I felt like, if I stay here for too long, it's going to take me longer to get into a manager role. So then I started looking for those opportunities where I can go from an individual contributor to a management role. And usually it's not like a very, fast transition. You actually have to showcase your leadership abilities before that happens. And it's a very organic growth usually. So that's where I started looking, and I found that healthcare industry in the US back then, it was very green when it came to AI. So at the moment where I was already, building products and deploying building models and deploying models to make AI products that could drive decisions, healthcare industry was at a place where, data science insights were being gathered using data science, which is still great. But using AI massively to make operational changes in healthcare was still not a thing. Operational decision making using AI was not a thing. So that's what I Centene Corporation. I joined Centene Corporation, and I found the right leaders there who were like trying to create a mini startup within the bigger company. It's a Fortune 25 company, and as you can imagine, Fortune 25 company, really large scale. It's so difficult to bring about changes there, and you have to start really small to start changes. So they had like a mini kind of a startup going there, like the startup culture within the bigger organization. And they were trying to move really fast. They're trying to do new things. And luckily, I met with them. It just jived well. And I joined there as a lead data scientist because our senior director was trying to form his leadership team. And that was the last piece in their puzzle. So I joined there as a lead data scientist and started pitching the idea to make products using machine learning. And back then, if we used AI as a thing, it would just get blocked because it's a highly regulated space, and in healthcare, people are very cautious about making sure that there are no wrong decisions being made because there is a higher cost, which makes sense. But then there is also a lot of fear and caution around changes. That's also something that I have experienced, and it's a thing there. So that's why I would pitch these ideas saying, why don't we make machine learning as product and drive decisions instead of saying AI to drive decisions? So that, I think those pitches went well. I would make these decks to convince our VPs. And finally, they sponsored me to become a manager. And I formed a team of starting from 1 member to 11-member team within a year.
What do you mean by sponsor? They sponsored you, Banali?
Sponsored as in, so any role comes with a cost. Being an individual contributor to becoming a manager means that, you cannot be a manager of 1-member team. You have to have a manager. You have to have at least a few members in your team to justify the fact that you need a manager. That means investment, right? So you have to be able to hire more people and then justify that, we have more people. We're doing things. We're building products, and therefore to manage all of that, you need a manager. So that means it's a budget that they have to gather a pool of money, and you need to have sponsorship of senior leadership to say, okay, I'm going to allocate $2 million to build this team. This is going to do XYZ. We need a manager, right? So that is the sponsorship. And in a lot of cases, and this is something that I learned very late, I wouldn't say they're very late, but later in my career, that if you want to go beyond individual contributor level, you need to have good rapport. You need to convince the senior leadership. You need to find that sponsor. They are the ones who's going to pull you into these leadership roles. And once you get into manager role, then you need to continue to build those rapports and show your work, of course. But then you need to continue to have those sponsors to get into director roles and above.
And त्यो sponsorship चाहिँ relationshipकै आधारमा हो.
It's your
Relationship,
work.
trust, हैन?
Yeah, trust is a big thing, but the foundation is your work, right?
Obviously.
Your skills, and your ability to deliver. It's a big thing. That's what builds the trust. Once you deliver, that's what builds the trust. So you build up on top of that.
So त्यो चाहिँ हजुरको I think managerial role को सुरुवात भयो.
That's where we started. Yeah, that's where I started as a manager. It was fun, a lot of work, put 12 to 16 hours a day, left a lot of household responsibilities for my husband, fortunately. He took it all in. Yeah, so that was when I stepped into manager role. We rolled out a major product, and then I had to keep pitching the vision of, okay, now I want to get into the director role. So what's the vision for the department? So, and fortunately I had a really good mentor, my senior director, who I reported to. He would be he was guiding me along the direction on what is my path to get to the director role. So that's where I would start building this vision for what would an AI department look like, what would they do, what are the kind of problems we could solve, and how can we actually get there. So yeah, so that's with that. I think it took me another 2 years to get to director of AI, and that was the time when AI boom happened. That was 2022, 2023. Everybody was talking about AI and how important it is. And that was the moment when I was driving this AI learning series with 600, 700 people, attending within the organization. It was a really fun time. I had an amazing team that I had built with my leadership team, and another, I think I have had 13 individual contributors in my team, all amazing people. And I was able to work with the consultants. So I had all in all about 50 member team with consultants. So it was an amazing time. We were solving problems horizontally across the organization. So there are operational verticals in different domains within healthcare. So it was a fun time, and that's when the VP decided, and we were also going through reorg at Centene. So then the VP decided to carve out a dedicated team called AI Product Line Department for AI Product Line. And our team was the first team our department was the first department that was branded as AI Product Line Department. And I got to be the director of that department. So it was a really exciting time.
अनि कति बस्नुभयो त्यहाँ चाहिँ एज अ डिरेक्टर?
I stayed there for about 8 months. Voila. Post director, being director.
That's what you wanted, right? Why 8 months?
I think there's a sense of growth, the hunger for growth, but there's also a hunger for challenge too. I cannot stay at a place where I'm not challenged enough. And as I said, it was a really great time. We were rolling out major products in healthcare that were becoming impactful. I had an amazing team, but then that was also a time where I felt like, okay, this is a great peak to be. But then I saw more of other mountains that I wanted to go climb. Let's put it that way.
So this was back in 2023, and
23, I think. Yeah, it was 2023. Yeah, 2023.
So fast forward to 2025, you have started your own company.
Yes.
हजुरको कम्पनीको नाम?
SolvDat.
SolvDat. Okay. You solve dataलाई merge गरे हो?
You say that. So let's solve for data-driven problems. So SolvDat, but also they're just coming majorly recently from healthcare, and then in the utility industry, there are just so many problems that we can solve. And then anytime there are data-driven problems that would come up, I would be like in my head, let's solve that.
Okay.
So then it just came to my mind like, okay, SolvDat stands for data. Let's solve for data problems. Let's just solve that. Also, it just really resonated with me. So that's how I just stuck with it.
अनि हजुरले एज अ प्रोफेसनल चाहिँ हजुरले आफ्नो निश चुज गर्नुभयो कि मेरो निश हेल्थ केयर नै हो भनेर?
So my niche doesn't have to be healthcare. I can, because I've worked enough in the utility space. I have worked enough in the healthcare space, and if any other space, it's just a matter of a little bit of learning curve. But the idea is still the same around building AI products, because how you manipulate the data to get to the final endpoint is the main thing. But for SolvDat, I decided to start with healthcare itself because I have a momentum going on for me since 5 years ago. I started 5 years ago in healthcare. space, and I see a lot of opportunity there using AI in healthcare. So that's why I decided to start with healthcare for SolvDat. अहिलेको लागि
सो फर समन लाइक यो हजुरको लेभलमा एउटा निस आइडेन्टिफाई गर्नु त्यसको पनि केही स्ट्राटेजिक नै होला नि त होइन नट जस्ट हजुर 5 years को एक्सपिरियन्स भन्ने मात्र लजिक थियो कि देयर वाज अ बिगर ब्रोडर भिजन
It's the opportunities that I see. It's just my healthcare ma bhane ni, it's very still in early stages to build AI solutions for operational efficiencies. Healthcare for diagnosis, AI for diagnosis is a different sectors like diagnosis, image detections and predictions and disease detections based on images.
That's the larger segment, right?
That's more of like diagnosis space, patient care, right? So that's a different space. What I am focused on is operational, optimization, meaning when a member or a patient goes into the doctor's clinic, how do the doctors get paid by the insurance companies?
Okay.
Right? What is that process? That's the operational process. How do the members make sure that they are getting the right care? They are only paying for what they need to be paying.
So super niche.
Yeah, that's the operational space. And when I say it's green, yes, it's green overall in healthcare, but the operational space, I think it's a really
Much
green
greener.
space. Yes, and a lot of opportunities. And having been in this space for 5 years, and as I said, I've worked across the verticals. Like my department, while working at Centene, it cut across horizontally across multiple operational teams. And so that gave me a really good understanding of all the areas that have opportunities for us to solve using AI. And so having known that really well, learned that really well, and I think I already have a lot of ideas in my mind which can translate to meaningful products in the healthcare space. So that's why being the opportunity itself, I decided to go with healthcare first.
Ani, can you now that you are here in Nepal meeting good people, amazing people around, होइन अनि त्यस्तो केही हजुरले उता गरेको कुराहरू र यहाँ आएर बस्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यस्तो केही सोल्युसन्सहरू यहाँ पनि रेलिभेन्ट भएको फिगर आउट गर्नुभएको छ त्यस्तो केहीहरू आइडिया आएको छ हजुरलाई कि यस्तो त नेपालमा पनि गर्न मिल्दो रहेछ नि त टाइपको भनेर के
अब जस्तै म मेरै एरियामा फोकस गरेर भन्छु होइन हेल्थकेयरको अपरेसनल अप्टिमाइजेसनमा चाहिँ I was a few weeks ago I was at KU and I got to meet with this I think it was they have this healthcare my business intelligence team रहेछ KU-मा a department that that is starting to do some claim processing. And so I think that although they may not be larger volumes, Nepal is heading in that journey where health insurance is going to pick up. This may be a little early, but it may also be the right time to start creating the right infrastructure for healthcare, for starting with the data layer itself. होइन किन भन्दाखेरि एउटा हस्पिटलमा गयो त्यहाँ चाहिँ एउटा डायग्नोसिस हुन्छ त्यहाँबाट रिपोर्ट छ अर्को क्लिनिकमा गयो के भने आफैले बोकेर लानु पर्यो नभए त्यो डक्टरलाई तपाईँको बारेमा केही पनि थाहा हुँदैन राइट फार्मासिस्टमा गयो that's a different story. So how do you bring all these information about a particular patient together and at the end of the day provide a holistic care to that patient भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ I think that's a really huge opportunity. And with the big hospitals that are creating spaces here, there's that opportunity, and that can eventually lead into providing maybe improving the health insurance and healthcare space in Nepal. त्यो एउटा भयो
यो हेल्थको डेटाको प्रब्लम चाहिँ यहाँ पनि हो किन त मैले पनि रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि यो ग्लोबल प्रब्लमै रहेछ कि
it's a global problem. Yes, and that's where there's so many lessons that we can learn without even doing it, right? You don't have to do everything to learn it. So you can take so many lessons from the global arena in the healthcare space and learn what not to do, right? And then do the right things. And I think Nepal is at a prime place to start thinking about it that way.
हजुरको एक्सपिरियन्समा त्यस्तो केही छ हजुरले एक्सपिरियन्स गरेको त्यस्तो कुराहरू जहाँ चाहिँ नेपाल क्यान पिक इट अप फ्रम देयर हजुर दिमागमा मैले भन्दै गर्दाखेरि के त्यस्तो आयो
मैले भने नि अब हेल्थ केयरमै पनि भने नि अब क्लेम प्रोसेसिङकै कुरा आइरहेछ होइन पहिला लेट्स क्रिएट द राइट डेटा इन्टरअपरेबिलिटी भन्छ होइन द्याट you're able to create such a system where when a patient goes into the hospital so hospitals are connected हुनु पर्यो त्यसको लागि डेटाको लागि होइन right infrastructure data infrastructure setup हुनु पर्यो हस्पिटल्सहरुको लागि and then you have a holistic view of a patient when a patient comes into a particular hospital त्यसको लागि चाहिँ hospitals themselves have to make an effort to connect the data
इन्टरअपरेबल हुनु पर्यो के
interoperability भन्छ हजुर not just between the system but also between the hospital system itself not just within the technical systems that's one अनि in the utility space I'll just tell you a funny story when I was at IBM I would go to these client visit like like I told you I went to Italy Japan I didn't get to go to Canada but then and even within the US we just go there and then my first thing that I would notice would be trees I would just notice how many branches each trees have on the road how close those trees are towards the wire किनभने के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि going back to the Watson outage prediction model outages are mainly driven by weather होइन अनि एकदमै हावाहुरी आयो भने चाहिँ major outagesहरू हुन्छ and outages किन हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि the majority of those come from trees falling के if the trees are touching the wire then it's falling and or disruption happens अब पोल ढलेर disruption हुने त अर्कै स्टोरी छ but a lot of things would be because of the trees and vegetation so everywhere I go I would see like how well trimmed the trees are so why I'm telling you that is because here also in Kathmandu now we have greenery that's great right but is anybody thinking about what that greenery is going to do to the wires अब आजकल random load shedding हरू भइरहेछ and then it just struck my mind a few days ago बत्ती जाँदाखेरि किन बत्ती गइरहेछ like there should be enough अहिलेको कुरा सुन्दा त किन भइरहेछ होला भन्दाखेरि there is greenery everywhere and then I go everywhere and I see oh my gosh these wires are touching the trees who's taking the responsibility of trimming the trees these are going to grow but I also noticed that a lot of places have smaller trees so maybe they have already done the due diligence but a lot of places also have really big trees so coming back to use case in Nepal I think now with the utility companies and with the infrastructures that are being built within Nepal and अहिले अब greenery लाई focus गरिरहेछ in this context I think we also need to think about because electricity is going to be like the major building block for development in Nepal nita whatever IT or tech thing that we want to do electricity is going to be the major foundation layer right so ensuring that no outages happen or when outages happen it gets solved for within matter of hours is somebody thinking about it and if somebody is not thinking about it I think this is a really good opportunity to kind of figure out what we can do about it and there are lessons to learn globally in that area too
I hope our audience are sensing opportunities I think if there is a problem there is an opportunity
in fact so there are studies being happening यही अब academically पनि नेपालकै academia-मा पनि I do follow papers I have friends in IOE who publish papers and so electric power electricity electric grid हरूको बारेमा but I think there is an opportunity there to tap into that space and see what we can do to improve the electricity consumptions and ultimately improve the quality of life for people and then ultimately ensure that we have a stronger foundation for tech companies here.
अहिले I think मैले एउटा त्यो मीम हेरेको थिएँ कि हैन अनि त्यहाँ चाहिँ राइट नाउ एआई भनेर चाहिँ त्यो एउटा ससेज हुन्छ अनि माथि चाहिँ सस चाहिँ हुन्छ जहाँ पनि जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल अहिले one thing that everybody is doing is sprinkling AI like crazy हैन
like cherry on top
yeah exactly तर यसो डेटा हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ I think you also mentioned almost 90% of AI startups या AI technology companies are failing right अनि मैले किन रहेछ त भन्ने कन्टेक्स्टमा यसो हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ कतिपय कन्टेक्स्टमा प्रब्लम स्टेटमेन्ट र सोल्युसन आर नट म्याचिङ हैन अनि जुन विम छ अहिले एआई एबल हुनको लागि एभ्री कम्पनी इज ट्राइङ टु अडप्ट एआई टु अटोमेट देयर टास्क आई थिङ्क त्यो त्यो डिरेक्सन चाहिँ राइट भइरहेको छैन भन्ने एङ्गलबाट छ कि होइन हजुरको एक्सपिरियन्समा चाहिँ के देखिराख्नु भएको छ वाइ दिस 90% अफ एआई कम्पनीज या एआई प्रोजेक्ट्स एआई इनिसिएटिभ आर फेलिङ
I think it's very important to understand and underline the fact that AI is not just a technology, it has to be a system that starts all the way from data layer and ends at the consumption layer. So, and then whatever is in the middle, the AI models, all big buzz about all these, open AI model, GPT models, and Mistral, and all those, that race that was happening last year. All of that is important. How do you, train that, tune that for use case is also important. How do you deploy it is also important. But how do you ensure that it is taking in the right data for you to get the right output? And then how is that output being leveraged by your consumer side? That's also equally important, because at the end of the day, what gets you the ROI is what brings you the success. So if we are saying AI products are failing, it's because they are not getting the ROI that was anticipated. That's one. And the reason why they are not getting it is either the efficiency gain is not there, or the accuracy level does not meet. But ultimately, what it is that the adoption layer is failing. The users are not finding it meaningful. They are not getting the value out of it. They are not adopting it. Therefore, they are not paying for it.
So are we just making AI product for the sake of किन भन्दाखेरि अहिले जस्तो कस्तो भइरहेको छ भन्दाखेरि आई सी अ लट अफ एआई एजेन्ट्सहरू होइन चार्जिङ $20 $30 अ मन्थ एन्ड देन हरेक 6 महिनामा चाहिँ च्याट जिपिटी कम्स अप विथ देयर ओन न्युअर रिलिज द्याट किल्स द्याट मेक्स दिज एआई एजेन्ट्स नट रेलिभेन्ट के हुन्छ नि. सो त्यो कन्टेक्समा चाहिँ त्यो अ लट अफ एआई ऱ्यापर्सहरू पनि आइरहेको देखिरहेको छौँ हामीले होइन. अनि मैले अर्को एउटा के पढेको थिएँ भन्दाखेरि यो होल प्रोसेसमा चाहिँ सबभन्दा धेरै पैसा कमाउने फेरि कन्सल्टिङ कम्पनीहरूले के लाइक आइबिएम होइन. मतलब लार्ज ल्याङ्ग्वेज मोडल पनि कमाइरहेको छैन, इम्प्लिमेन्ट भएको कम्पनीले कमाइरहेको छैन, जसले कन्सल्टिङ गरेर इम्प्लिमेन्ट गरेर आएको छ नि तिनीहरूले कमाइरहेको छ अरे कि. सो अभियसली वी आर नट डाउटिङ अ टेक्नोलोजी होइन. आई थिङ्क यसको त युज केसहरू नै देखिसक्यो, तर चाहिँ केही अझै मिसिङ पजलहरू हो.
छ त्यही मैले भने नि. सो बिकज इट्स अ सिस्टम एन्ड यु हेभ टु इन्स्योर द्याट एभ्री layer of that system talks to each other to get to that endpoints. You have to be very strategic about how do you go about building the right product and deploying it and going live with it. So there are a lot of startups coming up on this, but and over a course of time they get just swallowed by these giants who create giants like Google and OpenAI. They come up with their own solution. That's one aspect of it. But if you're focusing more on the AI product delivery in the enterprise scale, within an enterprise, I'll just respond back to your consulting companies. It's why is it working out well for consulting company? I want to touch on that. It's because they are positioning themselves as experts. And not all of them would be experts. That's what consulting companies do. But then they are also bringing a promise that they can actually deliver it and they can bring the right people, right? So enterprise scale ma say you may not have the right people, you may not have the right strategy, you may not have the right technology, and it's going to take you a larger learning curve to figure it out yourself and then build it and deliver it. But consulting companies come into the place where they say that we already have experts, we already have the right strategy, we have already done it, we already have the technology, we'll just build it for you and deliver it. That's their promise. And then that's where companies invest, because okay, there is already somebody who's promising it, versus a leadership who's not really sure about how to deliver it, right? And then the other thing is that they don't want to take the risk. Also, it is easier to give the risk to the consulting company and have them deliver rather than take the risk internally. So that's where consulting companies come in. And consulting companies like IBM, I mean, they have been in this space for a longer time. There is a really good story for them to tell and get that business for them. That's one. Now, going back to why AI solutions fail and how do we minimize that is, yes, 90% of AI solutions fail, but it is, as I said, it is because there may not be the right strategy in place. So we have to focus on and do it very strategically. And what I usually tell my clients and how I have been operating for years so far in this space is, we first need to figure out the right use case. and I always focus on 4 areas, which is ensuring that you define the value, ensuring that you define that it is valuable, it is feasible, it is viable, and it is usable. These are all 4 pillars for any product, and same applies for AI products. So when you find a problem statement, make sure that you have defined all of them, and then only start digging deeper, right? Now, when you start digging deeper, don't create the entire team. Don't invest millions of dollars building the entire team all at once. Don't spend thousands of dollars in creating the entire team all at once. First, make sure that whatever your model is that you're choosing, either you're training it or you are, reusing the model or using transfer learning. That model, you make sure that it is giving you the right level of accuracy that your user needs. That is going to drive you the right value.
That's a service you are providing from SolvDat, right? Usually.
Yes, so we do provide the discovery, which I call as discovery, that the 4 aspects of product delivery, defining the ROI, and then identifying the right problem to solve, and ensuring that the problem that we pick has the feasibility. We package that together as AI discovery, and that is the first thing that we provide. And that's how we minimize the risk, because this is where you have the minimum investment done. And if your model works, then only you take it to pilot and say that you're going to bring in more investment. So you do a very small scale of investment to test out the idea, the prototype or pilot, in a very small scale. Cut that vertical slice and release the MVP that generates you minimalistic value, but at least you can put it out there in the hands of your user. And then start to add more features on that minimum viable product to make it larger. And that is a way to minimize it. If you know that with that smaller investment that the AI product is going to fail, it's not going to work because your model is not working, then you just put it in the backlog or close it and then move on to the next thing. I think that approach, if you take, then that's where you can minimize a lot of failures at the enterprise level while building these AI products.
Any plans to provide this service to Nepalese company? Because I think there's a big opportunity right now, होइन किन भन्दाखेरि त्यो AI able इन्डस्ट्री खुल्दैछ जस्तो लाग्छ कि नेपालमा चाहिँ. हजुरको केही प्लान छ नेपाली कम्पनीजहरूलाई यस्तो सर्भिस दिने?
Yes, that would be wonderful to be able to do that. I mean, the answer is always yes. But as I said, I'll again put the 4 pillars in front of that. Is it viable, usable, feasible, and what was the other one? Valuable.
Viable, usable, feasible, valuable.
Yes.
And I think small companiesहरूले त यो आफै गरे पनि भयो कि होइन, यो भाइबल यो होमवर्क ग्राउन्ड होमवर्क चाहिँ, सो द्याट किन भन्दाखेरि आई थिङ्क यो अपर्च्युनिटी पनि होला कि है. अघि हजुरले पनि भन्नुभएको थियो नि त, कतिपय कुराहरू नेपाली कम्पनीजहरूले चाहिँ अब त्यो प्रब्लम फेरि रिक्रिएट गर्न परेन, त्यो प्रब्लमहरू क्रिएट भइसकेको छ, त्यसबाट सिक्ने अनि त्यसबाट आएको आउटपुट मात्रै युज गर्न पायो नि त होइन. अनि आई थिङ्क ह्युज अपर्च्युनिटी होला नेपालमा चाहिँ. त्यो जस्तै अब नेपालमा अरू कुरामा पनि के, जस्तै फोनको कुराहरूमा कतिपय टेक्नोलोजीको कुराहरूमा हामीले डाइरेक्ट त्यो ब्रिज गरेको छौँ कि, हामीले डाइरेक्ट लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलोजी चलाएको छौँ होइन. अनि अस्ति एउटा डेटा आई थिङ्क च्याट जिपिटी रिलिज भएको बेलामा एउटा इन्फर्मेसन के आएको थियो भन्दाखेरि नेपाल वाज द सेकेन्ड मोस्ट हाइएस्ट युजेज भएको कन्ट्री थियो अरे कि च्याट जिपिटीको लागि होइन भन्न खोजेको. अनि इट मेक सेन्स किन भन्दाखेरि एज अ मिडियन एज अफ 25 वर्षको त छौँ हामी, हाम्रो एभरेज एजै 25 वर्षको होइन, मिडियन एज भनिसकेपछि त ओभियसली एआई अडप्सन हाई हुने त युथमै त हो नि, क्युरियोसिटी युथमै त हुन्छ नि त होइन. त्यो कन्टेक्समा चाहिँ अब यङ लिडर्सहरू छन्, यङ अन्टरप्रिनर्सहरू छन्.
I would say नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ start all the way, because we don't have large enterprises here. मैले अघि सबै जे भने, it's in the context of enterprises that can that are willing to solve the problems for their customers in large scale. अब अहिलेको नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ, yes, there are a few large enterprises, but they are mostly working for global customers and clients. So but नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ, if you are trying to build something with AI, start with the consumer layer. Right?
Consumer layer नेपालको कि बाहिरको?
Nepalको. If you're trying to build AI solutions for problems in Nepal, then you have to start from the consumer layer. Like
कन्ज्युमर लेयर भन्दै गर्दाखेरि हजुरले चाहिँ पिपल हु आर विलिङ टु पे भन्न खोजे होइन?
people who will be the customers, like the customer layer, right? So
सो फर इक्जाम्पल एउटा हाइपोथेटिकल एक्सर्साइज होइन, अब अगेन जुन मार्केट मास साइज ठुलो छ त्यसमा जानु हुँदैन, मिडियन एज 25 वर्षको छ भने चाहिँ अब कन्ज्युमर लेयरले चाहिँ 25 देखि 30 वर्षको चाहिँ मेरो कन्ज्युमर लेयर हो भनेर मैले इस्टाब्लिस गर्छु भने चाहिँ 25 वर्षदेखि 30 वर्षको प्रब्लम के हो द्याट दे आर विलिङ टु पे द्याट वी क्यान सल्भ थ्रु एआई भनेर सोच्नु पऱ्यो हो
Yes,
हजुरले भन्नु खोज्नुभएको
yes. And it's
फर्स्ट
it's
स्टेप
not just AI thing. It's any product. When you build any product, you absolutely have to focus on your customer layer first. A lot of products fail because they don't give so much importance to the customer layer, right? So you guys are पनि same नै हो. Identify your customer and figure out what they want, like how you're doing your podcast, right? So you know your audience really well. You're trying to give them what they want. So it's the same thing with the AI product too. In your case, your product is your podcast, your content is a product. In this case, AI product case, whatever AI product ideas you come up with, figure out who would be your consumer or customers who are going to be using it, and walk your way backwards from your user layer. What is it that they are looking for? What will be valuable for them? Then walk backwards from that, and then build your solution.
यो तर अब रिगार्डलेस फर एनी टेक्नोलोजी होइन तर एज अ भेरी एज समवन लाइक यु हु हेज डन वर्क्स डन खतरा खतरा कामहरू एआईमा लेट्स ट्राई टु डु दिस एक्सर्साइज एकैछिन 10-15 मिनटको लागि मलाई यो गर्नु मन लाग्यो त ल हाम्रो कन्ज्युमर लेयर चाहिँ 25 देखि 30 वर्षको होइन हामीले एउटा इस्टाब्लिस गऱ्यौँ म अगाडि पछाडि आउँदै गर्छु है त ल 25 वर्षदेखि 30 वर्षको मान्छेलाई के गर्नु मन छ करियरको कन्सर्न हुन्छ होला मेबी दे आर विलिङ टु पे फर स्किल्स एजुकेसन या समथिङ अराउन्ड देयर करियर दे वान मेक मनी होइन ल तिनीहरूको निड पनि आइडेन्टिफाई भयो अब अब थर्ड स्टेप के हुनसक्छ
So you touched on two areas already. One is education, another is their career, right? Now there's so many ways you can go from there. As like let's pick the career layer, because education is, we already know it's and one thing that's a hit here is people are willing to pay for education, so that's already a business here. So let's think about career. What are already coming up are these recruitment companies. Websites are already coming up. So we have LinkedIn that's booming globally, right? I don't know how good of how well established LinkedIn presence is here, but that could be one thing. But going back to the career, there will be multiple things. Like there could be coaching and mentorship, right? That the youngsters might be. You might be able to tap into the youngsters who are really wanting to grow and really wanting to grow fast and want the right kind of coaching and mentorship in the areas that they want. How do you build that kind of coaching and mentorship for them that they are willing to take? And then you can potentially, so then if we pick that route of coaching and mentorship, you can maybe start creating a platform where they would want to come in and share their areas of expertise and where they want to go, right? So that may be a place to start as the next step. Now everything may not be AI, so we just don't want to push AI into it. The other could be the job hunting as well. So job search space too. They upload their resumes, and then you are trying to match their resumes against the companies that are looking for, and I think there are already websites here and platforms here to be able.
हजुरले भन्दा मेरो दिमागमा एउटा कस्तो यो बिजनेस आइडिया आयो विथ दिस बिजनेस आइडिया भनौँ है त हाम्रो अडियन्सलाई सो एउटा प्लेटफर्म जहाँ चाहिँ मान्छेले आएर आफ्नो कुन स्टेज अफ करियरमा छ भनेर हाल्छ प्यारलली ब्याक एन्डमा चाहिँ हाम्रो एउटा हुन्छ नि एउटा ठुलो आर्काइभ अफ अल द अमेजिङ पिपल नेपाली पिपल हेभ डन अमेजिङ थिङ्स अराउन्ड द वर्ल्ड तिनीहरूको ऊ भएन नि हाम्रो एआई अल्गोरिदमले चाहिँ द्याट विल कनेक्ट बोथ अफ दिस पिपल एन्ड देन मेबी तिनीहरूको करियर ट्रेजेक्टरी अनुसार चाहिँ कि त एआईले सजेसन गरिदिने कि त इभेन्चुली हायर टिकट प्राइसमा चाहिँ दे गेट टु कनेक्ट डाइरेक्टली विथ समवन लाइक यु मेबी हुन्छ नि अब कोही 22 वर्षको फिमेल छ जसलाई चाहिँ एआईमा के गर्न मन छ उसले यो कुराहरू सिकेको छ तर वाट नेक्स्ट भन्ने थाहा छैन अरे होइन तर अब हजुरको प्रोफाइल लिस्ट आउट भएको छ भने कनेक्टिङ यु एन्ड हर सम हाउ युजिङ एआई होइन त्यस्तो पनि के अब
होइन सो that is the usability aspect of it, right? Now you'll have to define the value aspect of it. You'll have to define the viability aspect of it and the feasibility aspect of it.
Value aspect भनेको चाहिँ मोनेटाइजेसनको कुरा हो.
Yeah, what's the value in it for the young
girl and someone
female,
like you?
tech individual contributor and what's the value in it for the mentor. I mean, mentorship can be free too. I don't want to associate that with money. Yeah, but then it's a cost of their time. And then eventually with your platform, the investment that you're going to do, what is the value? Like, that's the ultimate value. What is the value that, how are you going to derive the value out of the work that you're going to do? Yes, it's a goodwill work. Yes, that's great. But ultimately you have to pay the bills, and how are you going to get the value out of that platform? How are you going to, figure out that aspect?
सो मोनिटाइजेसनमै भयो भ्यालु भनेको चाहिँ मोनिटाइजेसनको पर्सपेक्टिभबाट हुनु पऱ्यो। त्यहाँ ट्रान्जेक्सन भयो भने त अब हरेक इन्भल्भ भएको मान्छेले आफ्नो एउटा सम पर्सेन्टेज अफ ट्रान्जेक्सन लिने नै हो।
Yeah, so there is something in LinkedIn, maybe, or there is something called TopMate, where mentors connect with individual people, and then the individual people pay, let's say $30 an hour, which the mentors themselves can decide how much they want, and then the platform takes a little bit share of that, let's say 10% cut or 15% cut of that, and then the mentors are paid after the cut.
So value चाहिँ के भन्नु थियो हजुरले?
Viability and feasibility.
Viability and how do you define viability and feasibility?
So will it stand its challenges? Is it going to be a good product? Is it going to be delivered the way that you want, and then actually bring you the value that you want?
So viability र feasibility सुन्दा त उस्तै देखि सुन्ने।
Feasibility चाहिँ is it doable भन्ने feasibility हो. So you might want to create like going back into the layers of AI or machine learning, you might want to create a matching algorithm, right? It doesn't have to be machine learning. Like very simple algorithms पनि use गर्न सकिन्छ. You might end up using very simple algorithms like k-means clustering as well, or classification algorithms use गरेर to match the two profiles. Like a person with certain XYZ profile is a best match with the person with the XYZ profile in the mentor side, and then that's the pairing that's done by machine learning algorithm. In fact, that kind of matching happens in all the other different kinds of platforms, like matrimonial websites also may have those kind of things. LinkedIn might also have these things where it matches the individuals with the recruiters. So that's not something new, but in context of use case kai कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ if the match is not happening correctly, more than 50% of the time, let's just throw a random number there, 50% as a safe 50-50 thing. If it's not happening 50% of the time, and for you to actually deliver the value, you need to make sure that it happens at least 50% of the time. The correct match happens at least 50% of the time.
सबभन्दा इम्पोर्टेन्टली अरे भ्याल्यु जस्तो फिल भयो असँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि, किन वन्स द भ्याल्यु हेज बिन आइडेन्टिफाइड यु क्यान गिभ इट अ नम्बर, भाइबिलिटी पनि प्रुभ हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ, फिजिबिलिटी पनि प्रुभ हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ।
Feasibility चाहिँ it's a function of your what you are putting in the AI layer. Banale, so it's also a function of the data. So do you have the right data, and enough data? And then once you have the data, Miles Pokharel explained the matching algorithm. If your matching algorithm, let's say you have to, in order to get to the value, you need to have at least 50% accuracy in your matching. Or you have to have at least 90% accuracy in your matching. Meaning 90% of the time you are able to match the individuals with the mentors correctly. And the correctness here may be defined by, okay, I match them, the platform matches them, and then they continue the engagement as mentors and mentee.
To the feasibility
that is going to define your success of your algorithm. If I go in and I say that your platform comes in match every time I match it's very random. That means it's just bringing your match level to 25% accuracy. Then you don't have value, right? Because your customer doesn't want to come back. So for your customer to want to come back, how often do they need to feel like they are being matched to the right people? Out of 10 times, if they feel like 8 times they are being matched, they might want to come back. If they feel 5 times they are being matched, they might want to come back. What is that threshold, right? Once you define that threshold, and if you think that if you can prove that your algorithm can meet that threshold, that's when you can derive value. So it's a function of your algorithm, your machine learning model or your AI model internally that can help you get to that level of accuracy. And once you get to that level of accuracy, you're certain that your customer is going to come back, and therefore you can get the value that you need.
And त्यसको फेरि डिपेन्डेन्सी चाहिँ अन द भ्याल्यू अफ द डेटा your algorithm is as good as your data भन्छ नि त होइन. सो again start from the first layer data होइन.
Yeah, अब त्यो चाहिँ अब डेटा लेयरमै पनि you have to be very clear about how do you want to define these attributes of individuals, how do you want to define the attributes of your mentees, what attributes you're picking, and are they actually filling it honestly, are you scrapping it or converting it correctly. That's where the data quality comes into place.
एउटा न्यारेटिभ कि जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल अहिले यो जुन बुम भइरहेको छ यो स्पेस, अनि कति कुराहरू त ओपन सोर्स पनि छ नि त. आजको दिनमा सबै कुराहरू स्क्रैचबाट आइडेन्टिफाई गर्न परेन राइट. लार्ज ल्याङ्ग्वेज मोडलहरू नै ओपन सोर्सहरू छ. या सजिलै एउटा एपिआई लिएर यु क्यान स्टार्ट वर्किङ इट फ्रम डे वान नै. डु यु थिङ्क नेपालमा बसिरहेको यङ जेनेरेसनले चाहिँ दे सुड बी फोकसिङ मोर अन सल्भिङ अ ग्लोबल प्रब्लम, बिल्डिङ अ ग्लोबल एआई प्रोडक्ट, कि दे सुड स्टार्ट फ्रम सल्भिङ द प्रब्लम दे सी अराउन्ड तिनीहरूको कम्युनिटीमा? हजुरको सजेसन चाहिँ के हुन्छ? गाह्रो क्वेसन हो.
No, the answer is very simple, which is if you are living here, you need to focus on solving the problems here. But that's an easy answer. But a tougher thought process here is, what is the incentive for them to spend time to solve for the problems that they are surrounded by, versus what incentive do they get if they solve for the global problems?
अनि त्यो चाहिँ डु यु हेभ टु इस्टाब्लिस अ स्टेटमेन्ट कि लोकल प्रब्लम विल नेभर बी एबल टु स्केल आउटसाइड आवर लोक्यालिटी भनेर. जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल आजको दिनमा नेपालमा सल्भ भइरहेको प्रब्लम क्यानट इट गो टु इन्डिया, क्यानट इट गो टु पाकिस्तान, बङ्गलादेश, साउथ अफ्रिका, इन्डोनेसिया. सो त्यो कन्टेक्समा चाहिँ हामीले ग्लोबल प्रब्लम भनेर युरोप र वेस्टलाई नै लिनुपर्ने हो र?
I know you have a great point there. There might be areas where if we solve for the problems here, it might expand beyond Nepal problem. Just if somebody solves for water purification problem, it does expand beyond, right? All South Asian countries might relevant हुन सक्छ. If somebody solves for more of like health disease detection problems, it can be something that can in fact expand not just to Asian countries but beyond that, Western countries as well. So having that, first of all, you have to have the time, you have to have the skills, and then you also have to have the fund or financial support to be able to spend the time to get that kind of innovation going. So that's why the easier answer is yes, everybody should be doing that. But the tougher, aspect of that is, can we actually provide that kind of a support for individuals to actually, invest their time?
मलाई त उल्टो लाग्छ. जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल इजी एन्सर चाहिँ यस यु सुड बी सल्भिङ अ ग्लोबल प्रब्लम चाहिँ इजी एन्सर हो जस्तो लाग्छ. किन भन्दाखेरि इट्स साउन्ड सो ग्ल्यामरस, लेट्स सल्भ द ग्लोबल प्रब्लम होइन. अनि कति त एउटा नुवान्सेस मैले के भेट्छु भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ देयर इज अ मिसकन्सेप्सन बिट्विन हुन्छ नि अब वर्किङ के अरे प्रोभाइडिङ अ सर्भिस टु अ एजेन्सी बेस्ड इन युएस बाई बिल्डिङ एउटा सफ्टवेयर or like हुन्छ नि गिभिङ योर एक्सचेन्जिङ योर आवर्स फर अ सर्टन डलर भर्सेस सल्भिङ अ ग्लोबल प्रब्लम चाहिँ एउटै हो जस्तो सोचिरहेको छ जस्तो लाग्छ कि मलाई. जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल नेपालमा बसेर ल्यापटपमा बसेर महिनाको 3-4 लाख कमाएर ग्लोबल कम्पनीको लागि काम गर्नु भर्सेस बिल्डिङ अ ग्लोबल प्रोडक्ट चाहिँ एउटै होइन भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ कस्तो त्यो अलिकति भएको छ जस्तो लाग्छ कि होइन. अनि आजको दिनमा नेपालमा बसेर एउटा अमेरिकन एजेन्सीले आउटसोर्स गरेको काम गर्नु अमेजिङ बिकज द्याट पेज रियली वेल. त्यो गर्नु चाहिँ आई थिङ्क अ बिट इजियर भयो. तर न्युयोर्क बेस्ड एउटा कम्युनिटीको लेट्स से न्युयोर्क बेस्ड रियल इस्टेट कम्पनीको म एउटा यस्तो प्रोडक्ट बनाउँछु जसले चाहिँ त्यो प्रोडक्टले उनीहरूको प्रब्लम सल्भ गर्छ भन्नु चाहिँ much difficult if you are not based in that region.
Yeah, because there's a lot of information that you need to learn.
Information relationship, अरू nuancesहरू हैन. So building a global product हुनको लागि चाहिँ global experience, global touch, global knowledge, global relationship पनि त हुन पर्यो नि त.
हुन्छ हजुर.
हैन. So easier route would be solving a problem आफ्नो locality को. तर while you select a problem जस्तै हजुरले भने जस्तै if you solve a water related problem, it has a potential to go regional, it has a now potential to go global. त्यो चाहिँ इजियर रुट हो कि जस्तो लाग्ने कि रादर देन ल म अब आई क्रिएट एन एप द्याट विल सल्भ वर्ल्डको प्रब्लम एन्ड आई विल बी एनदर मार्क जकरबर्ग भन्नुभन्दा होइन अनि त्यो कसरी बुझाउने होला त त्यो डिफ्रेन्स कि अपवर्कमा एउटा काम लिएर ग्लोबल काम गर्नु इज भेरी डिफ्रेन्ट बिल्डिङ अ ग्लोबल प्रोडक्ट भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ त्यो अलिकति हाम्रो युथलाई कसरी बुझाउने होला
I think there's two categories of things here. One is एउटा चाहिँ service भयो, एउटा चाहिँ product भयो. Yes, you can argue that the service that you're providing is a kind of product as well. तर the drawing the line between that is important. And then the other thing that I want to connect is if you are still solving for global problems as a service provider, that is an opportunity for you to learn about the global problems, and that could be a path for you to start solving for the global problems, because then you get exposure to what kind of problems are out there, you understand what kind of problems are out there, and then you can maybe build a product for them that's useful for them.
त त्यो कन्टेक्स्टमा पनि when I talk to a lot of दाइहरू who are doing providing service globally होइन उहाँहरूले के भन्नुहुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अनु बिजनेस नआउ चाहिँ ट्रान्सफर हुँदैन हामीमा चाहिँ रिक्वायरमेन्टहरू आउँछ होइन तर त्यो चाहिँ बिजनेस नआउ भन्दा डिफ्रेन्ट छ सो विल नेभर बी एबल टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड इभन इफ आइ एम वर्किङ फर अ रियल इस्टेट जाइन्ट इन युएस मेबी त्यो मल्टिपल एजेन्सीको लेयर थ्रु आउँछ होला त्यहाँको लिडर्सहरूले के सोचिरहेको छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ हामीमा रियली ट्रान्सफर हुन्छ सो प्रोडक्ट नलेज चाहिँ हामीमा ट्रान्सफर हुन गाह्रै छ जस्तो कुरा गर्नुहुन्छ कि अनि मेक सेन्स पनि बिकज वान अफ द रिजन वाइ इट इज कमिङ टु कन्ट्री लाइक नेपाल इज बिकज अ चिपर लेबर हो नि त एक किसिमले भन्यो भने त्यो चाहिँ अलिकति हामीले कुनै पनि ड्र गर्न खोजे होइन के रङ हो के राइट होइन भनेर ड्र गर्न त खोजे होइन तर एउटा राइट के अरे रिप्रेजेन्टेसन भयो राइट अवेरनेस भयो भने चाहिँ आई थिङ्क देन 25 year old guy or a girl could make a right decision कि ल वे डु आई हेड नेक्स्ट फर नेक्स्ट 10 years आजको जमानामा विथ द रिसोर्सेस एन्ड टेक्नोलोजी द्याट दे हेभ एक्सेस नाउ किन भन्दाखेरि आई थिङ्क अहिलेको जो जायन्ट्सहरू छन् तिनीहरू इस्टाब्लिस हुँदाखेरि यो यस्तो टेक्नोलोजीहरू थिएन कि दे स्टार्टेड विथ द डिफ्रेन्ट माइन्ड सेट विथ द डिफ्रेन्ट रिसोर्सेस अहिले त अब क्रेजी छ भन्यो भने त होइन एक किसिमले
Yeah, I think it's a matter of time. जस्तै अब India started its यो के भन्छ tech race in the global arena years back, but where they started was from the service space itself, right? So Infotech was is one of the larger consulting giants. A lot of US companies outsourced work. And then I think now it's starting to gradually move towards this product space, and I think about thanks to AI boom they are starting to have their own LLMs, which is amazing. So I think it's a gradual process. That's one, and we have only started in our service space now. Now trying to build product from here is still it's still a really big leap. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it is I think that our talent, different approach and different thought process, and the talent pool here is I would still say the skill set is still there, but there is a need for coaching them in the right way so that they can think like senior leaders. It takes time, but it's a journey.
हजुरको यही कुरामा एड गर्दाखेरि मैले एउटा त्यो हरिश मेहता भन्नेको एउटा बुक पढेको थिएँ कि म्याभरिक इफेक्ट भन्ने जहाँ चाहिँ हि हेज एक्चुली डकुमेन्टेड हाउ त्यो इन्डियामा चाहिँ टेक बुम कसरी भयो अनि कसरी इट चेन्ज भन्ने कन्टेक्समा चाहिँ अ लट अफ इन्डियन डायस्पोरा प्लेड अ क्रुसल रोल के अनि जुन हामीले अघि त्यो भन्यौँ नि जुन हामीले प्रब्लम स्टेटमेन्ट क्रिएट गऱ्यौँ कि यहाँ त्यो ग्याप छ भन्ने कन्टेक्समा चाहिँ आई सी नाउ इज द टाइम पिपल लाइक यु नेपाली डायस्पोरा कुल फिल द्याट ग्याप जस्तो हो कि किन भन्दाखेरि के हो त ब्रिज हाम्रो लागि त हजुर नै हो नि त एक किसिमले हेर्ने हो भने त सो त्यो ब्रिज चाहिँ इफ वी क्यान त्यो मोर डायस्पोरालाई के भन्छ झकझकाएर होइन त्यो ब्रिज त्यो ग्याप फिलअप गर्न सकिन्छ कि होइन
या सकिन्छ होला मेन्टरसिपहरू गर्ने अनि एउटा राइट मेन्टरसिप अपर्च्युनिटिजहरू क्रिएट गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ मेबी पोसिबल बट I wouldn't say but, and it's also a function of time, right? So how do you make it convenient enough for people to wanting to willingly engage in that kind of an activity where yes it comes at the cost of time, but at the same time there is some value for them too.
If I make a statement, let me know what you think about it, and I'd like to make a statement. Nepalese diaspora is one of the most untapped resources we have got, And I think we have not even scratched, we have not even started.
I agree to that. We have great people, amazing talent in really amazing places, Amazon, Apple, name it, right? So we do have that. But I agree, like figuring out how do we tap into that potential and how do we bring some value to grow the talent here and young minds here. I think that's still something that there's a bridge.
So how should अझै एउटा पर्सनल इक्जाम्पल पर्सपेक्टिभबाट दिनु होइन, वाट वुड बी अ राइट अप्रोच फर अ academia or institution here to start leveraging you? Let's say हजुरको इक्जाम्पलमा कुरा गर्दाखेरि what would be a right approach to institution over here to start leveraging your skill set, your knowledge, your experience हुन्छ नि, to solve यहाँको प्रब्लमको लागि, or to connect यहाँको युथलाई के होला द राइट अप्रोच? अनि यु भन्दै गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ आई थिङ्क त्यो चाहिँ एउटा भेरिएबल हुनसक्यो द्याट वी क्यान इम्प्लिमेन्ट फर एनी अदर एउटा वेल इस्टाब्लिस भएको डायस्पोरा एनिवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड.
त्यो चाहिँ अब मैले I've seen this example work in US as well. Jस्तै the University of Florida, where I graduated from, they have a program called, it's an internship program. But what they do is they do charge the companies who want the interns, but they charge it in a more subsidized form. And what they provide in return is a team of interns who are the graduates, undergrads, or almost graduating students, and they also provide a coach who is their professor. Right. So what happens there is that it's a win-win situation for both. The team completes a capstone project, right? They get value out of it. They get exposure to the industry. They learn the things directly from the experts in the industry. The expert in the industries or the companies, right? So मेरो केसमा मेरो companies. So in my case, or the entrepreneurs or the tech leads, what they get is that they get the value, the quality work delivered in a much reasonable cost, and so it's a win-win situation, right? So I don't know if that kind of framework has been established here, but I think there is an opportunity there. Something like that could potentially be done where, you know, if somebody is running a company there and they need a certain kind of skill set, they reach out to the universities here, and the university can provide it in a package. University does get paid, like the students do get paid certain amount. They get the value out of it in terms of experience. But at the same time, the other side also gets the work delivered. So that could be a framework that could be established. I just thought of it when I was reached out by my friend who is a professor in University of Florida.
Now that we have laid the framework here, maybe you never know, यो एपिसोड रिलिज भइसकेपछि हजुरलाई रिच आउट आउला कि कुनै
Yeah, no, I did talk to one of my friends. म केयुमा गएको थिएँ अस्ति एउटा टकको लागि, and I did talk to them about it. They were open to the idea. So there's a little bit of exploration needed. I don't know if IOE already has something like that going. त्यो हुन पनि सक्छ already, but it's definitely an area to explore.
हजुर अहिले नेपालमा आउँदाखेरि जतिलाई पनि भेट्नुभयो, माइन्डसेट वाइज चाहिँ रेडी भइसकेछ जस्तो लाग्छ हजुरलाई, जसम कुरा गर्नुभयो?
It's a mixed bag.
जस्तै
I met people who are very excited, and just Balda, he's always very excited. He's been in this space for so long. And then I also met people who are like really frustrated, and they're like, okay, don't be too excited about things. People will do their own thing in their own pace, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I think it's on me which one I take in and how much I take in, but also build my caution accordingly.
Okay, I think I'd like to change the gear now. I know. Let's shift into. We are quite vocal about women in leadership and encouraging more youth. Yeah, more female leaders. Where does this come from? You just trying to make it up in my head. एउटा नेपालमा पढेको फिमेल बाहिर जानुभयो, बाहिर एक्सप्लोर गर्नुभयो, अनि त्यहाँ चाहिँ हजुरले आफ्नै फेयर सेयर अफ अपर्च्युनिटिज एन्ड च्यालेन्जेस पाउनुभयो, एन्ड देन रियलाइज गर्नुभयो कि ए ओके आई सुड स्टेप अप एन्ड देन बी अ भोइस अफ अ लार्जर ग्रुप द्याट निड्स टु बी रिप्रेजेन्टेड भन्ने एङ्गलबाट आएको हो हजुरको यो रियलाइजेसन कि सो यु आर क्वाइट भोकल अबाउट वुमेन
leadership. I think growing up all the time I had that fire in me.
नेपालमा हुँदा पनि
Nepalमै पनि I had that fire in me because being a girl in a country like Nepal is not easy. In Kathmandu, a lot of things have changed. Fortunately, like Oiliko generation, I hope they don't have to face the same things. But we are conditioned socially. Even though I grew up in a household where I got equal opportunities as my brother. Right, there were no separations there in terms of opportunities. But there's still a conditioning that you can read from the society in terms of people that you interact with, in terms of your relatives who surround you, in terms of even the society that surrounds you around. There is a some kind of things that are defined as this is not safe for you, don't do this, which is there, right? There's safety thing, but then there's also things like this is not appropriate for girls, don't do this, and that always bothered me, always bugged me. And I would always get challenged by those kind of norms, and kati ta I fought vocally or kina nahune bhanera, but kati I have been quiet and silent because I don't want to be that only black swan. Ani so that was always in me, but what I did with that is I took it in me as a fire to go do better. And there was always this thing in me that I can always do things better than boys type ko थियो के मेरोमा अहिले पनि थियो. But then when I went to the US, then I started realizing, so in Nepal in engineering, while I doing my engineering, I was one of 6 girls in an engineering class. The story is still the same. I went back in KU last week for a guest lecture a few weeks ago, and I didn't see any girls in the room. Finally, a girl walked in, and I was so excited, and I just was very vocal about it. Finally, we have a girl in this room. Why don't we have any girls in this class? I asked the professor, हाम्रो professor I'm also there. And
प्रोफेसर चाहिँ मेल हुन्थ्यो कि फिमेल हुन्थ्यो?
उहाँ चाहिँ मेल हो, चाहिँ भूपेन्द्र सर. So that is already still continuing. So that's one, So now going to the US, it's still the same story where yes, there are a lot of opportunities equally created for men and women. But once you get married and once you have kids, there's still this thing of a woman taking a lot of responsibility of the household and ensuring that the kids are being taken care of. So there is this baggage. I feel like it's a baggage. It's a pleasant responsibility, yes. But when you are trying to achieve a lot of things, it also comes as a baggage at times that women are taking a back seat when it comes to taking leadership roles because they have a lot on their plate, and and willingly they take it, right? So I willingly take my responsibilities of my kids because I'm a mom, and I don't think that my gaps can be filled equally by a dad, right? So and he does his fair share too. But then I like to take that responsibility, but at the same time, taking that and then taking the leadership responsibility really makes my plate full. So it's a challenge to balance that. So I have seen that happening in the US too. But यहाँ पनि छ त्यो, हैन? The US मा पनि छ. So there's a parallel there when it comes to seeing women in the leadership. And then what happens is that in the tech space especially, I couldn't find a lot of women in the tech space. So going to grad school classes, there were very less women, not 6 in a group of 40, maybe 20 in a group of 100, right? But there's still minorities. And then going to work, I used to be one of 3 women in a room of 50 men. And some days I'm the only woman in the floor of 50. And that felt awkward, weird before at times, but later I kind of got used to the idea, and it is what it is. There were times when you enter the room and the room is full of men and you don't have a chair to sit, and I would pull a chair from outside and sit and find seat at the table. So there were times like that as well. So having seen all of that, like growing up with those conditioning and going abroad and still seeing some of that going on where, you've realized that you need to, as a woman, you need to make a place for yourself. If you don't do it yourself, then nobody else is going to do it for you. But then there are also great people who are mentors and who still want women to succeed and would support you. So they are there too. But having seen all of that, and that's what kind of shaped my added fuel to my fire, I would say. That maybe let's do something about it. And I naturally enjoyed leadership role. It's not like I'm doing a charity for anybody. I naturally enjoyed leadership role, and I felt like if this is something that I want to bring about change, if I want to be vocal about it, then I need to find a kind of a title, a position.
And do you think becoming the woman that you actually wanted to see for yourself, जस्तै आफू यङ हुँदाखेरि जस्तो एस्पिरेसन हजुरलाई चाहिएको थियो त्यो हुनु नै सबभन्दा फास्टेस्ट एन्ड बेस्ट अप्रोच हो टु इन्सपायर मोर फ्युचर वुमन लिडर्स?
Maybe, but I would say I didn't see me that like that before. Like it wasn't. It never occurred to me that I want to position myself as a woman leader, and therefore I will create more opportunities for them or be able to speak about it more. It never occurred to me that way.
But now that you look back and think about it, do you think that is one of the best thing that you could do to actually inspire more female leaders?
Yes.
Because aspiration नै त हो नि हैन, like when you create an aspiration among people, they follow the aspiration हैन. अब आजको दिनमा यो podcast चाहिँ let's say somebody in Elam, a 16-year-old girl is watching this and she's like, oh wow, हुन्छ नि, if she can achieve it, why can't I भन्ने कुराहरुले.
Absolutely.
So it would not have been possible by two men talking about women empowerment हैन. अनि त्यहाँ त एस्पिरेसन क्रिएट इन्सपिरेसन चाहिँ क्रिएट हुन्छ होला, आई क्यान डु इट भनेर, तर एस्पिरेसन चाहिँ क्रिएट हुन्न होला. एस्पिरेसन चाहिँ कम्स फ्रम seeing someone like you, achieving that, and why can't I भन्ने.
Absolutely, yeah. My aspiration was not to be that I want to be this woman leader भन्ने चाहिँ थिएन. My aspiration was I want to be someone. I want to rise भन्ने चाहिँ aspiration थियो. And then
For yourself,
for
भन्ने थियो.
myself थियो. So but yeah, absolutely, you can't be who you can't see. Right, so seeing somebody ahead of me. So I've read books of these women leaders, and there are so many inspirations to draw from them, and that gives me more encouragement. So absolutely, like if you can see more examples ahead of you who've been there and who've been in the leadership roles, or maybe you don't have to be in leadership role, but you just doing your own thing, leading your life in your own terms, not conditioned by something else. Being independent and being able to drive your own decisions and not being dependent on others financially. I think that's a power in itself, and it's very satisfying, fulfilling, at least for me, and I'm sure it's going to be for a lot of women who may not have been able to get there.
Are you able to identify other ways to inspire young women leaders beside becoming the one, हुन्छ नि, अरू के आइडियाजहरू देख्नुभएको छ जुन चाहिँ द्याट क्यान बी डन इन मोर अफ अ कम्युनल लेभल के?
I would say financial stability, like going for financial stability would be
त्यो फेरि स्किल्स सेटमै आयो फेरि. आजको दिनमा फाइनेन्सियली इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट हुनको लागि यु निड टु हेभ द्याट स्किल्स द्याट इज भ्याल्युड इन अ मार्केट. Acquire that skill, go out, make money for yourself, and become a financially independent person and make decisions for yourself.
Yes. I think financial stability is a big factor in making sure that women can drive their own decisions.
त्यसलाई युजर लेभलमा अगेन ब्याकट्र्याक गर्ने भने स्किल सेटै आयो फेरि.
Skill set, yeah. So what I would say to young women is that make sure that you are gathering skill sets in such a way that you know what market needs. Right, build your skills in such a way that it's sellable in the market. That's how you can go towards your own financial step. Like, and the other thing is, I also want to address that there are women who are okay, they're fine, they're happy, not trying to achieve the financial stability. And if they are happy, then that happiness is the biggest gift of all.
तर कस्तो भेग भयो कि ह्याप्पिनेस चाहिँ इट्स सो भेग टु डिफाइन, or put in some form of framework के
अब happiness
तो इन्डिभिजुअली सोध्नु पर्यो आफूले
इन्डिभिजुअली सोच्नु पऱ्यो कि ह्याप्पिनेस चाहिँ अब डु आई हेभ द पिस अफ माइन्ड एम आई ह्याप्पी एन्ड इफ सम आई डोन्ट फिल लाइक कम्प्लेनिङ अबाउट माई लाइफ और आई विस आई कुड हेभ डन दिस आई कुड हेभ डन द्याट भन्ने स्टेटमा छैन कोही हुन्छ नि मान्छेहरू होइन सो द्याट आई फिल लाइक द्याट इज वाट ह्याप्पिनेस इज एन्ड इफ दे आर कन्टेन्ट ह्याप्पिनेस एन्ड contentment छ भने maybe they don't have to do this, right? But growing up, being a young girl, you'd never know what life is going to bring to you, right? And you want to be well equipped. You want to be ready for challenges that comes into your life. And in order to do that, start gathering the skills that make sense in the industry, in the market, and make sure that your skills that you acquire are sellable. And skills is not something that you gather one skills today and 5 years down the lane you're going to still have the same skills and still it's going to be sellable. You have to keep building your skills accordingly, you know. And so if you're a young girl, if you're in college, if you're in school, education is the first ladder. Then once you start doing that, then be mindful of what it's the world of internet today. So be mindful of what's selling in the market, what kind of skills you need to be gathering to start having your own financial safety.
Honestly, I was having a conversation with my wife and then she brought up quite an interesting perspective. के उसले मलाई के भन्दाखेरि अनु मलाई बच्चैदेखि यस्तो इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट हुनुपर्छ यस्तो इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट हुन्छ फाइनेन्सियल इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट हुन्छ यस्तो दिमागमा थियो कि फर अ लङ अमाउन्ट अफ टाइम आई डिन्ट आस्क एनी हेल्प फ्रम एनी वान मलाई कस्तो हुन्थ्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ म किन हेल्प माग्ने म आफै गर्छु भनेर म आफै गरिदिन्थेँ भने कि उसले होइन अनि तर अहिले आएर रिफ्लेक्ट गर्दाखेरि अनुप मलाई कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि सायद मैले कतिपय ठाउँमा हेल्प गरेको म अलिक फास्ट हुन्थेँ होला तर मेरो दिमागमा के हेल्प लिनुहुन्न इन्डिपेन्डेन्टली गर्नुपर्छ कसैसँग म हेल्प लिँदैन अनि म एक्लै गर्न सक्छु म एकै गर्छु भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ आई थिङ्क त्यो काउन्टर प्रोडक्टिभ भयो मेरो लागि कतिपय कन्टेक्समा मेबी आई सुड हेभ आस्क्ड हेल्प मलाई यति स्ट्रेसफुल हुन्थेन होला भन्ने कन्टेक्समा चाहिँ
I agree. I absolutely agree. That's something that I had to unlearn as well. एकदम I had to unlearn the fact that help माग्नु हुँदैन है हेल्प माग्यो भने सानो भइन्छ भन्ने छ नि हाम्रो जुन it's so counterproductive के
अझै स्पेसिफिकली फर वुमनलाई के बिकज त्यो उसको पर्सपेक्टिभबाट चाहिँ उसले आफ्नो एङ्गल भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ मलाई कहिले पनि भएन कि त्यो एज अ मेल हुन्छ नि मलाई हेल्प माग्नु हुन्न म त एकदमै हेल्प माग्ने रिच आउट गर्ने मान्छे हो होइन मलाई चाहिँ त्यो आई वाज नट एबल टु रिलेट फर्स्ट फेजमा तर उसले पछि भन्दै गइसकेपछि चाहिँ बिकज फाइनेन्सियल इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट हुनुपर्छ वुमन इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट हुनुपर्छ भनेर हामीले यस्तो एक्सट्रिममा गएर कुरा गरिदियौँ कि अब चाहिँ हेल्प माग्नुहुन्न हुन्छ नि त्यो चाहिँ सायद मेललाई छैन होला कि वुमनलाई बेसी छ जस्तो लाग्छ कि कतिपय टु सम एक्सटेन्ट होइन
Independence doesn't mean that you can't get help.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree. For me, it was not. I didn't tie the two together. It was in general. I think it was more of a social conditioning around me that help माग्नु चाहिँ किन हतपति हेल्प मागिहाल्ने if you can do it yourself then do it yourself.
सबैको लागि त्यही सोसल कन्डिसन त हो नि.
Yeah. So त्यही त ग्रोइङ अप इन नेपाल भन्न खोजेको मैले चाहिँ अनि युएसमा गएपछि चाहिँ के भयो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ इफ यु डोन्ट रिच आउट यु गेट अहेड इफ यु रिच आउट बिकज नट एभ्रीबडी रिचेस आउट सो द्याट्स अ स्किल टु ह्याभ and you get ahead if you ask for help. Yes, because why do you want to reinvent the wheel? Don't reinvent the wheel bhन्छ क्या हैन. So why would you want to solve for a problem who somebody else has already solved? If you can start from where somebody else left off, then you can go ahead and faster, right? And I learned that skill kaile bhanda once I went to US and I started applying for PhD. अनि त्यतिखेर चाहिँ like being able to reach out, being able to talk to people that these are my these are my skills. Here's where I lack. I need help. भन्नु सक्नु it's a skill that you have to build. It's a muscle that you have to build, and it takes you a long way.
Amazing. मजा आयो मलाई आजसँग आजको कन्भर्सेसन गर्न. रोशा चाहिँ हामी अलमोस्ट पडकास्टको एन्डतिर आइसकेको छौँ होइन. इज एनिथिङ एल्स यु वान टक अबाउट एनी आइडियाज द्याट यु हेभ बिन लेटली हाई अबाउट हुन्छ नि. अनि अब हजुर त फर्किने टाइम पनि आउँदैछ होइन. यो आई थिङ्क के छ मतलब मैले त बिग क्वेसन सोधेँ हजुरलाई.
So I think we talked about quite a few things. We talked about AI, we talked about women in leadership. What I do want to leave with is, as we talk about, especially because women in leadership, women empowerment was our final topic, what I want to add to it and leave this podcast with is also, as we talk about women empowerment, it is incomplete without having men in the picture. And so if we are building table and chairs for men to sit, let's be considerate about how can women fit in those chairs, because, and it's a well-known saying, those chairs may not have been built for women. I go everywhere. I have a lens of asking, whether I go to a restroom, whether I go to a restaurant, whether I sit in a chair. The first question that comes to my mind was like, is this built for me? मैले तपाईँलाई पहिला पनि बस्ने बित्तिकै it feels taller for me भनेर भनेको थिएँ. That's because I'm shorter. But that's just an example of how we can be mindful of creating the spaces for women. It's not just enough to say that we don't have panelists, we don't have women panelists. It's not enough to say that we don't have enough women. What are we doing about it? What are we changing in the thought process, in the things that we design, in the system that we design, to make sure that women would want to willingly step in and come to the picture, come to the limelight? I have seen a lot of women just willingly leave the limelight, not because they are not capable, but because they are just overwhelmed with a lot of other responsibilities and they don't have the right support system, right? So that's what I want to leave this with, is that as we talk about women empowerment, as we talk about AI and all the high tech and all the buzz things, let's also think about, how can we create the right kind of system, environment, and place to, position women in those leadership chairs and in the limelight.
Awesome. Such a beautiful sum up. Thank you so much. I think it was lovely talking to you. We talked about a lot of things, and I think Tony, for a smart individual, I think Tony business use cases, business ideas as a conversation mine, and I hope you'll be able to make something out of it. I mean, almost 1.5 hour conversation. So if you are listening so far, kudos to your patience. Yeah, I think I had amazing time. Thank you so much for making time. Next time Nepal I'll find more good reasons to have you back again on the seat. Next time I'll figure it out.
This is a good chair.
Indeed.
And thank you so much for having me. It's a wonderful opportunity for myself as well, because I know this is one of the podcasts that has reached globally. So I'm really fortunate to be on this seat. So thank you for having me, and I'd had a wonderful experience as well.
And I think as one of the core takeaways के हुन सक्छ भन्दा रिच आउट हजुर कुन प्लेटफर्ममा मोस्ट एक्टिभ हुनुहुन्छ?
You can reach me on LinkedIn. That's the one that I use mostly.
So we'll link your LinkedIn link below. And for everybody listening, I think both male and female, if you reach out, अनि तर रिच आउट गर्दा फेरि चाहिँ हाई हेलो हाउ यु भनेर रिच आउट नगर्नुहोस् होइन. गो विथ द कन्टेक्स्ट, गो विथ द प्रपर मेसेज, बिकज आई थिङ्क पिपल हु हेभ अलरेडी अचिभ समथिङ दे अप्रिसिएट द कन्टेक्स्ट होइन. सो त्यो कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ गो विथ द कन्टेक्स्ट. एन्ड आई थिङ्क उहाँले भनिहाल्नु भयो, लट अफ पिपल डोन्ट रिच आउट. सो इफ आर रिचिङ आउट यु अलरेडी हेभ एन अपर एडभान्टेज. अनि हुन त आज पडकास्टमा अगाडि जस्ट टु अफ अस टकिङ इन फ्रन्ट अफ अ क्यामरा, but the amazing people behind the camera, behind the computer screen, making everything looks great and sound great. So thanks to them. I'd also like to thank our production company, VFinders, for making this happen. VFinders is one of the largest B2B content producers here in Nepal. So if you want to activate your social handles, you want to start learning about content strategy, want to implement content strategy in your business so that you can scale, you can bring more sales into the company, we are definitely one of the right company to do that. The link is below. Reach out to us. यति भन्दै विल बी ब्याक अगेन. अर्को एउटा कुरा, वी हेभ रिसेन्टली स्टार्टेड अ न्यू इमेल, partners@doersnepal.com. So if you want to reach out to us, talk to us, figure out a way to collaborate, if you have an idea that you want us to work upon it, we are more than happy. We are all ears. So please write us in a detailed email. We read all your comments, and we'll be back again with another amazing conversation, another amazing guest. Till then, you guys take care. Bye-bye.